All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we recap everything that happened down here on a kind of a breezy, cool day in Santa Clara on a Thursday. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Sleeper, and this 49er football season on the Krug Show is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chats, season-long leagues, and of course Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use the promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's talk about the day that was down here in Santa Clara. Brock Purdy did practice for the second day in a row, and the 49ers had both Purdy and Mac Jones talk to the media. Lynch said this morning on KMBR that they will make an organizational decision and make the decision of whether or not to let Brock go in this game against Arizona. I watched practice today. I thought Purdy looked good, but not 100%. Definitely not 100%. So I don't think he's going to play this week. You get that he's just ginger walking around on that toe. He's gingerly moving around. You can tell he's not planting on it, and he's not pounding it into the ground. He's soft pedaling it a little bit. He looks like he's about 75%. So I don't think he's going to go. I think Mac Jones is going to wind up going. Now the question is Brock Purdy going to be the second quarterback and play off the bench, or is he going to be the emergency third string quarterback? My guess is he'll be the emergency third string quarterback, and we'll see. We'll probably find out that news tomorrow. As far as today, Trent Williams didn't practice, at least when I was there. He was in uniform. He was in the weight room. He was walking around on the side, doing some stuff on the side, but he didn't practice from the portion of practice they showed the media. Juwan Jennings was also on the side doing side work, not practicing. I don't think Kyle necessarily needs those guys to practice. They're the kinds of players that could probably just play on game day. Nick Bosa did practice. CMC did practice. Brock Purdy did practice. As I said, he didn't look 100%. Kyle Juszczyk still in the blue non-contact jersey. He's battling the concussion symptoms. Saron Neal remains in the blue non-contact jersey as well. Yetur Gross-Matos practice, which is really good news. That Niners NASCAR package with Gross-Matos and Mikael Williams on the inside has been deadly. So it's good to see Yetur Gross-Matos practicing. There was no Spencer Burford. He has got a knee injury. He's day-to-day. He was not out at practice today. Couple other notes. Trent Williams, a lot of people were very nervous about Trent Williams and how he played in week one. Man, he bounced back in a huge way in week two. He allowed 0 pressures against the Saints. By the way, Sunday's Niners-Cardinals game will be the 68th meeting of 49ers Cardinals. The Niners lead the all-time series 36-31. I would have thought it would have been a more dramatic, more lopsided series in the Niners' favor than 36-31. Niners are a 1.5 point favorites, easy for me to say, and the over-under is 43.5. Arizona swept the 49ers, beat them in the desert last year and beat them here at Levi's. So 49ers are very serious about this one for sure. Adam Amin, Mark Sanchez, and Christina Pink will be on the call for Fox, and of course Guy Haberman and Tim Ryan will be on the call on the 49ers radio network as Greg Papa continues to get better from his cancer treatments. So, Pop, we're thinking about you and praying for you. Guy Haberman will be in the seat on Sunday. A couple interesting notes. Nick Bosa's got 64.5 sacks. He needs 2 sacks on Sunday to tie and 3 to pass Charles Haley on the all-time 49er sack list. Haley's sitting at 66.5, second all-time. The number 1 sack man in Niner history, well, they didn't, even use sacks as a stat, until somewhere along the line. So there's probably some old-timer who had a ton. But Bryant Young has 89.5 sacks career, number 1 all-time on the 49ers sack list. So there you go. BY is at the top of the list. By the way, if you were wondering, man, who's going to be the Niners' number one receiver? They got Pearsall, they got Demarcus Robinson, they've got Kittle, they've got all these guys. Well, Robinson hasn't played, Kittle hasn't played, Ayuk hasn't played, or Kittle played the one game. Last week, Juwan Jennings got a 26.3% target share. Ricky Pearsall was second at 15.8%. So if there's any wonder who's the number one receiver right now, it's probably Juwan Jennings. We talked to Robert Saleh after practice, and I asked him, I said, you know, John Lynch said this morning that he thinks like your head coaching experience with the Jets has helped you and made you a better defensive coordinator. And he said, you know, you learn a lot of things in football as you go. And he said, you know, I'll just have to leave it up to other people to make that evaluation. And he kind of steered clear of that. We talked a little bit about Bryce Huff and how, you know, Bryce Huff was a linebacker and the evolution of Bryce Huff to being a defensive end and how he knew he was a great fit. And they were really excited to get him here. He talked a little bit about the good defensive effort, but also said, hey, man, we need to be a lot more precise. We need to be a lot cleaner. You know, he was impressed, he said, by D. Winters and his improvement. I thought that was kind of an interesting comment. We also got Robert Saleh to talk a little bit about Kyler Murray. And, you know, he says this guy is a guy who's fast, he's elusive, but he's a pass-first guy. And, you know, they're going to have to really do a nice job against Kyler Murray. Offensive football is about creating space. Defensive football is about closing that space down. The Niners are going to try to close down the space around Kyler Murray. Also, Robert Saleh talked about Renardo Green, and he was asked about Renardo, and he said, man, he's competing his butt off. He's learning, he's getting better. He said, you got to remember, this guy's only a second-year corner. And he said he's got a big matchup this week with Marvin Harrison Jr., and he called Harrison Jr. a big, powerful wide receiver, the total package at wide receiver with great hands. And then you know, he talked also about how Mikael Williams is really coming on and Alfred Collins is really coming on. The 49ers really like what the improvement they've seen in all three of their rookies up front, West and Collins and Mikael Williams, from week 1 to week 2. And I talked to CJ West about it at his locker after practice, and he said, you know, that first game, your head's spinning and it's like bright lights and, you know, you have this big plan and what it's going to be like and all these thoughts, and then you get into the game and it's coming at you fast and, excuse me, you make mistakes. And he goes, so then you correct those mistakes and you come out in week 2, and he thought he played better. He thought Collins played a lot better. He thought Williams played a lot better. These are the Niners got the right guys, I think. It's just a matter of coaching them up, getting them that experience, because those guys looked really, really good. And then, you know, one of the things we're going to go through a little bit later on tonight on Niners Nightly, 49er Web Zone put out their all-time 49er defense. And they have Bosa, Justin Smith, Bryant Young, Charles Haley, Patrick Willis, Fred Warner, and then Ronnie Lott at free safety, Tim McDonald, T-Mac at strong safety, Eric Davis, Deion Sanders at corner, and they have they're going like 4-2-5 and putting Jimmy Ward out there as the nickel corner. That was 49er Web Zone's all-time 49er defense. I'll switch it up. Now, I've got a little bit of age probably on 49er Web Zone. I'm going to go with, I mean, usually you see a 4-3 or a 3-4. He's got, you know, they came up with a 4-2-5, which is kind of unique. Instead of having a third linebacker, they could have put Bowman in there. They put Jimmy Ward instead of having a third linebacker and going 4-3. I thought that was bizarre, but whatever. I'm going to go, since we're doing our own thing, I'm going to go with a 5-2-4. You know, I'm going to go with a 5-man front. I'm going to go a 5-man front that has Nick Bosa, Bryant Young, Michael Carter, Charles Haley, and Fred Dean. I know, you know, some of these guys get forgotten over time. You got to have Fred Dean and Michael Carter on the all-time Niner defensive line. Michael Carter is the most dominating nose guard in the history of football. Fred Dean's one of the strongest pound-for-pound edge rushers the league ever saw. Put them on a line with Haley and BY and Bosa, and it almost doesn't matter who else you got. I got the two linebackers the same, Willis and Warner. And my four-man secondary is Ronnie Lott and Deshaun Goldson at safety. I'm putting the Hawk in there. And then my corners are Deion Sanders, and I'm going to go Merton Hanks. I think people are forgetting Mert was a fifth-round corner out of Iowa and a damn good corner before he ever played free safety. So I'm going to go Hanks and Deion on the corner, so I got size and length. And then I got Ronnie Lott and Deshaun Goldson at the safeties. I got Willis and Warner at linebacker, and the best five-man front ever created. Bosa, B.Y., Michael Carter on the nose, Charles Haley, Fred Dean. You got to be kidding me. Nobody's beating that defense. That's better than the 85 Bears. All right, I'd love to hear yours. Leave yours in the comments below. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Sleeper for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.